Seething journalists mocked Stellar Blade's record-breaking PC release. They then got exposed instead by Rev Says Edesu. So a lot of journalists were very mad about this game. And a big reason is because of Eve. So journalists don't like attractive characters, especially if they're women. Journalists only like chairs, tables, and bears. Which I'm going to assume he talks about that at some point. If he doesn't, I might bring it up.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So over the past year or so in the gaming industry, there's been a lot of reaping and sowing, both good and bad.
By devs and journalists.
A lot of games that pandered and virtue signaled and spent more time caring about what screechers on Twitter might think, well, they failed. We also saw some examples of games that just wanted to provide a good experience with appealing character designs, and they succeeded. And one of those games that released...
So here's the thing, right? I think this game, or these games, it's not even just about pandering. I think the devs are just incompetent. Like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? Like, Star Wars Outlaws is a perfect example. Like, this game was just bad. Like, it was just shit, right? And then you got Assassin's Creed Shadows, again, just shit. Now, this one definitely did try to pander towards, like, race, obviously. But the game itself was just fundamentally a bad fucking game. Like, compare this to Black Flag that came out, like, what, 12 years ago or some shit? It's not even close. I do think that the AAA games or studios have been taken over by incompetent millennial Karens who have no fucking idea what they're doing. And they love this, like Dustborn and Outlaws, and they fucking hate Eve and Wukong because it's China, right? That's one huge problem.
Released last year was Stellar Blade, released back in April of that year, and it had enormous levels of success, and it was a huge hit for Shift Up and Sony. Now, here we are in the year 2025 in June, and they just had their PC release. Now, there is plenty of journalists who are still fuming about this game.
So, when this came out on PC, this was the first time I played Stellar Blade. I have about 120 hours in this game. I've not platinumed it. I couldn't find like a couple of the little fucking things scattered around, and I can't be arsed finding them. But overall, I gave this game like an 8 out of 10. But as you see here, look at him. Fucking millennial. It's always fucking millennials. Every time. See, I know there might be people who get mad at me saying that. But just look at the trend. Like, every time you see like journalists complain about characters like Eve, just go and look at the journalist. It's a millennial, and there's a good probability you'll find some very strange things in past articles that they have wrote, like Berserk, but that's like a different one. But it is off the same game, which he might bring up as well.
And doing everything in their power to kill the hype. You can see PC Games N here giving a paltry 6 out of 10, saying this game is basically very underwhelming and boring. But of course, even IGN had to eventually admit that this PC release was a massive, massive success. The PC version of Stellar Blade is already Sony's biggest single-player Steam launch ever.
And it isn't even close, by the way. Like, I believe the highest outside of Stellar Blade is either Ghost of Tsushima or it's God of War. But I believe that the second hit like 70,000 or something. Stellar Blade has hit 192,000. Like, it's not even close.
Numbers look insane. Right now, in the middle of the afternoon, a few days into the PC release, you can see over 140,000 in-game PC players. despite the 6 out of 10 from that previous
Is he going to show
the Steam
peak?
review percentage is 92%. If you look at the charts, it's actually gaining momentum over the past couple of days. All of these numbers just
it did go up as well to about 193.
Various shills have provided for other games. We heard this with Dragon Age the Veilguard and Assassin's Creed Shadows, where Steam DB...
Keep in mind, these same companies who were giving Stellar Blade a 6, they gave Dragon's Age like a 9 to a 9.5. They gave Avowed like a 9 to a 9.5. They gave Shadows like a 9 to a 9.5. It's just complete... It's just biased, right? That's why you shouldn't ever trust a journalist. Ever. They just lie through their tits.
Charts, they don't matter. They're not real numbers because they're releasing the game on multiple platforms, so these numbers aren't reliable. And of course, both of those games failed financially and really just proved the people relying on the charts correct. But here, this game releases on PC after releasing on console over a year ago and has numbers that crushed those two previous games that I just mentioned. On top of that, like I said, a year later, think about a different example with Star Wars Outlaws that had a Steam release very shortly after its initial release, which a lot of people were surprised by. That wasn't seemingly the plan. But even then, after a much shorter window between the releases,
was so fucking
their Steam numbers were in the few thousand. Okay, and that's despite being a major AAA release from a beloved franchise. Now, of course, these numbers seem undeniable. Even the shills cannot deny this. The journalists have to accept the reality that this PC launch was a major success. So what did they do now? They seethe. Here's Vice taking a break from their Waypoint journalists slandering VTubers to make this banger, saying Stellar Blade PC launch breaks Steam sales records thanks to its thirsty fan base.
Yeah.
Stellar Blade is breaking numbers, largely being fueled by its thirsty fan base. Yeah, largely by thirsty players. That's what Vice has to say. And of course, the people at Shift Up disagree. They think the biggest reason for the success is its combat. Now, of course,
I think it's mixed.
Nobody is blind here. The appeal...
Yeah. I mean, he's about to say it, sure. But the game's got amazing combat, sure. But if you were playing as some fat, greasy, bald guy, it would not have sold... It would not have hit 193,000 peak concurrent players on Steam. It just wouldn't. Eve does play a part in that. And the mods also play a part, since the most popular mod for this game is the nude mod, as you would expect. But I think the combat is also a good point of contention with this game selling well.
Character designs and the appealing outfits contained in Stellar Blade definitely contributed to its success. A lot of people are happy to see it, but that is not the end-all be-all of a game success like this. Clearly, a lot of people really enjoyed the gameplay and the combat. Clearly.
Yeah, it's really good.
Minimize all of this just to appealing character designs and thirsty players is a gigantic cope. We've seen other games lean heavily into appealing character designs with a lot of fan service, perhaps even more than Stellar Blade. And one example is The First Descendant, which right now, despite being a live service game that's free to play,
it's an online game,
that have really floundered. They got off to a really good start, but
I've seen the characters
really quickly, and they really haven't recovered in any sort of a significant way because the gameplay just doesn't connect with people as much as Stellar Blade did.
Well, yeah.
But things would get worse. PC Gamer is very upset about this. Probably more upset about what's going on with the PC release.
This is the one.
More than anyone.
So at the beginning, I mentioned Berserks. This is the one. Hopefully he pulls it up and he talks about it. Yeah, he's going to talk about it. These journalists are something else, boys. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, they came up with this saying, Gooner Game of the Year, Stellar Blade's mods are 41% smut, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven. Don't you love it when PC Gamer tells you you're never going to see the light of heaven for playing Stellar Blade? And the way they describe this game is ridiculous. The Gooner game. Okay? This person did some work with Grok here to compare the number of intercourse scenes in all of these games versus the Gooner games like
Dragon's
Stellar
Age
Blade.
7.
Dragon Age the Veilguard,
Mass Effect
7.
6, 8.
Mass Effect 3, 6 to 8.
Witcher
Cyberpunk
5,
2077, 4 to 6. And so on and so forth. Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Inquisition, God of War. And then Stellar Blade at the bottom with 0. Goose egg. And yet this is the Gooner game. Not Dragon Age the Veilguard, nothing else on this list. It's just Stellar Blade.
Because Eve's hot.
Well, these journalists have a massive bias. They just don't like this game and what it stands for, just being a product designed for gamers.
No, they don't like that Eve is hot. Like they like Dragon's Age because the character's like Tosh. Like an obnoxious trans character. I'm just going to say it. That's what Tosh was. And only journalists seem to like that character. Oh, sorry. They claim they like that character. But the moment a hot character comes along like Eve, nah.
And they're just seething about its success. Now, going to the article itself, it gets
Joshua
even
Wallen,
more ridiculous as you read through. So they say stuff like this. Stellar Blade finally hit PC 2 days ago, giving everyone a chance to do whatever it is this game is actually about. Unfortunately, no one knows what that is because the entirety of discourse surrounding it is about the main character's butt. Are you joking? You're the one limiting this entire game to its fan service and the appeal of its character designs. This is not something that no one knows what it's about. A lot of people do, including millions of people.
By
they know
intense
because they played through the
scientific
game.
calculus.
And clearly, PC Gamer hasn't bothered. They don't know what this game's about. They're just relying on a bunch of weirdos on Twitter who are upset about this game. Now, going down here, they keep seething. And they say, by intense scientific calculus counting, fully 96 of the 234 mods available for this game, 41% that currently exist for Stellar Blade, are marked as adult. And frankly, some of the ones that are not marked as adult are probably not safe for work. How do you feel about Eve feet hands? Good? Would you discuss that with your grandparents over Christmas dinner? No.
What?
Why would you talk about not safe for work content and mods for this game with your grandparents over Christmas? What a stupid thing to say. Would you talk about this article with your grandparents at Christmas? I don't think so. And I also think there's other articles
they
that
would
this
rather
person
talk about
has
something
wrote
else.
that they definitely would not be sharing with their grandparents over Christmas. Look at the name here. Joshua Wallens. Well, let's look back to September of 2024, not even a year ago. They made an entire article about Baldur's Gate 3's bear intercourse scene and how important this.
And keep in mind, the entire article is praising and glazing the bear sex. And he does refer to it as red hot bear scene as well.
This was to spreading the message of the game. I kid you not. Would you share this with your grandparents at Christmas dinner? I don't think so, dude.
I think
you're
they
a
might,
massive
honestly.
hypocrite. This is the person telling you you're not going to see the pearly gates because you played Stellar Blade, but then they act like this not even a year ago. It's complete hypocrisy.
That's right.
Everyone can see this, and this is why games journalists are a complete and utter joke. Now, there's some more people upset about the success of Stellar Blade. Some people are still coping on Steam, and they're trying to leave negative reviews. Look at some of these.
Yeah. The male gaze and objectification of women.
The male gaze and objectification of women. Eve's hypersexualized appearance, skin-tight outfits, exaggerated body proportions, and voyeuristic camera work.
Keep in mind as well, the body of Eve is a 3D model of a real woman in South Korea. Like, so when these people say exaggerated proportions, they are saying that an actual girl has exaggerated proportions. You know, that seems pretty bad, right?
Are a major selling point in the game and reflects a design rooted in the male gaze. When a woman's strength is constantly filtered through her sex appeal, her power becomes conditional, and it's acceptable only if it's visually pleasing to a presumed male gaze. Ultimately, Stellar Blade reinforces the idea that women should appeal to the male gaze to be in the spotlight. Again, I always love when people bring up the camera work. You control the camera, buddy. Okay, if you're using it in that way, that's on you.
To an extent,
but people
sure.
like appealing designs. This is not shocking.
But yeah,
and also, guess what?
Including
it's not
girls,
just
by the way.
Men who enjoy these designs. Women do too. And
where the fuck did the idea that a girl wants to play as some fat, bald freaky even come from? Go and look at all the girls who played games like Oblivion, Skyrim, or Baldur's Gate 3. Look at the characters they made. Like 95+% of them made a character that was attractive. Oh, but girls don't like attractive characters. Shut up. Stupid.
And I love people like this who speak on behalf of women. They basically say, there's no way you actually like this game, clearly, because it's so designed for the male gaze, which is so backwards. It's like peak male feminist energy.
I mean, it's clearly designed for guys.
Here's another one saying,
but girls like playing as hot characters as well.
Sexual. Laugh, throw clowns, etc. I've heard great things about the gameplay. I'm a huge fan of this genre. I would love to play, but I genuinely can't enjoy or get into a game as blatantly sexual as this. This person wants a mod to tone down this game. Just buy another game. If this is too much for you, if this offends you morally or whatever, that's fine.
I can't play a game that has hot characters.
No one's going to make a mod to tone this down for you. Just be realistic here. But there were some more talks about the mods for this game. Apparently, the Shift Up CEO has shared his view on mods, basically saying a lot of them are still pretty limited.
He prefers the original.
Basically is challenging these modders to do better, to go further, I guess. And he's looking forward to more mods that not just target outfits and things like that, but also change the way that the game is enjoyed. So this is a pretty healthy reaction, in my opinion, especially when so many developers just go crazy over mods. They get so angry. We've seen multiple companies try to do their best to take down mods, to discourage people from making mods.
He's referring to probably Capcom. So Capcom try their hardest to take down the mods that people try to upload for Monster Hunter World. And I believe they're also doing it now for Wilds. Like, they have a system in place that it's getting increasingly harder to mod games from Capcom.
Of course, alter their single-player experience that's not hurting any other player other than themselves. But anyways, people are also trying to downplay these numbers and see the journalists.
The Stellar Blade curve is interesting, as you can see just how Asia-focused it is. Prime gaming time in the West is pretty much its daily low point. That's right. Because Asian gamers don't count. Yeah. So this guy, Paul Tassi, he has separated Western gamers and Asian gamers. And the reason he's doing this is because he wants to downplay the number of 183,000. And the way he does this is to separate gamers based off of where they're from. Because apparently if you're a gamer in Asia, you don't count as much as if you're a gamer in the West. Yeah. I don't know, man. That seems pretty racist to me, Paul.
Here, Paul Tassi, talked about him pretty recently. He said, the Stellar Blade curve is interesting as you can
he's gonna read that anyway.
See just how Asia-focused it is. Prime gaming time in the West is pretty much its daily low point. And then they say in parentheses, tweet screenshot prevention. I am not saying this is bad. Then why are you bringing it up? This is such an obvious point. Everyone understands this game sold the best.
You know, it kind of gives me the vibes of I'm not trying to be offensive, but you're a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But it isn't a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out, right? That's what kind of person this guy is. And keep in mind, he's always the first person to call out people who are saying things along this line. But if you replace straight male with trans person, he'll be there to call it out to call you a bigot. Yeah, and transphobe.
In Asia. That's where the studio is. Like, of course it's going to sell the best there. We went through the same exact thing with
cat food. Arriving today with Prime. That's off your mind. So now
Black Myth Wukong, where people try to downplay, millions of concurrent players by saying, well, it peaked pretty low when the East went to bed. Yeah, no kidding, dude. That's the region that they focused on the most. Duh. This is just a stupid, petty thing to bring up that's just trying to downplay these numbers that are incredibly
The whole
impressive,
Black Myth thing was
even
fucking
in the West.
stupid to begin with.
Now, of course, Paul is someone who has tried to downplay this game from the get-go.
That's right.
Back in last year, saying Stellar Blade is now the highest user-scored PS5 game ever, which is a bit excessive. Why? It's not up to you. It's
because
up to the players to decide that.
He doesn't like the character.
Now they've come full circle, saying 10 things I wish I knew when I started Stellar Blade 2025 PC Edition, where he is largely praising the game. It's pretty funny. He also shared an article from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg.
Oh, that guy.
Sharing the reasons why.
So, Jason Schreier, now, he put out a tweet. I believe it was after this video, but he said, I prefer Avowed. Oh, wait, no. He said, hot take. I like Avowed a lot more than Claire Obscure. Oh, really, Jason? You like Avowed more than Claire Obscure? Yeah, sure thing.
Dragon Age the Veilguard failed. And it's very interesting to see the comparison points between Stellar Blade and everything that happened with that versus Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is always some
Dragon Age was
weird
so bad.
Set of comparisons, but I guess, like I said, a lot of
Character
people make
design,
excuses
shite.
for the Steam
The
DB
level,
numbers
combat,
of
shite.
Veilguard when it came out, and now they're not making any sort of comment about that when it comes to Stellar Blade. Now we have, of course, Jason Schreier, who wrote this article that's being shared, and he was one who infamously tried to preemptively spike the proverbial football on this one, where he said, go woke, go top the charts, showing the first day results of Dragon Age the Veilguard. And
keep in mind, 58k for a AAA game by a AAA studio. That is of a franchise that is incredibly popular called Dragon's Age. 58k is not much. Like, that is not much at all. Especially when you compare it to the games that this same guy hates, like Stellar Blade, which peaked way higher as a port of a game that came out 1 year ago.
At the time, it was 58,000
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Concurrent players, where someone said, there's no way you genuinely liked this turd, where he said, I actually don't like the game very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on.
By 58k.
Full-grown man, unironically calling people chuds.
No. No, Rev. Use the correct term. He's not a full-grown man. He's a millennial. It's always fucking millennials. Every time.
Social media, in order to dunk on them, with a game that ultimately failed and caused massive layoffs over at BioWare.
That's right.
But this is the article itself. This is a screenshot. I am not giving any support to Bloomberg. So you can see inside the Dragon Age debacle that gutted EA's BioWare studio. And basically said they went through 10 years of development turmoil. And here's a summation, some of the highlights
of that article,
saying there was a lot of immense...
Here are the highlights. BioWare was under immense pressure to succeed after the failure of Anthem. Anthem, again, was a massive, massive failure. Oh boy. And Andromeda, again, a massive failure. And now Veilguard, a massive failure. Wow. I wonder why the studio got shut down. Who could possibly know? Original concept code name, okay. EA forced a pivot to a multiplayer live service. Creative director Mike resigned over the shift. All right.
Pressure to succeed after the failure of Anthem, which, yeah, I could see that, as well as Andromeda too. The original concept was a small single-player experience, and then EA forced a pivot to a multiplayer live service format.
Yeah, that's about right. For
director
EA,
resigned over the
tried to do that shit.
And then you can see Anthem's failure in 2019 raised internal doubts about repeating mistakes. The pandemic just complicated things. In 2020, the project was abruptly pivoted back to single player, which, man, if it was a live service multiplayer, dude, can you imagine how much worse things could have been? But of course, the team only had 18 months to overhaul the structure and rewrite the story.
That game was dead from the start because the devs were too incompetent.
Feedback from the alpha testing in 2022 pointed to a lack of impactful narrative decisions. BioWare brought in a second team to help finish the game.
Cultural clashes arose. Dragon Age team was laid back.
Clashes over the team caused a lot of issues. Some of the Mass Effect leaders rewrote and added new scenes, including the game's emotional finale. Dragon Age leads were frustrated, denied resources, and excluded from key meetings. The online
who designed the characters?
Snarky tone felt outdated.
Who the fuck designed Tosh?
It would resemble Forspoken, led to last-minute dialogue rewrites.
Initial trailer looked like Fortnite alienating the...
That's pretty hard to believe.
Initial trailer looked like Fortnite alienating the RPG fan base. No, the trailer looked like shit. It looked like shit from the start. Like the trailers were shit, and the gameplay was just as shit when you bought the game. No, the game was just bad from the very fucking start. Nobody wanted this shit. Marketing failed to properly convey the game. Don't blame the marketing. It ain't the marketing. Your game sucked.
Okay. But looking at BioWare's future, contributes around 5% of EA's annual revenue. EA primarily profits from sports and shooter games.
Analysts say EA may continue supporting BioWare.
So you get it. There was a lot going on, and honestly, a lot of it was just internal confusion, changing of the direction of this game multiple times, reverting giant pivots, like going from single player to multiplayer live service and then going back. That's obviously pretty hard to deal with, and bringing in multiple teams to try to finish this and tweak the dialogue as much as humanly possible. But I think a lot of this stuff talks about the internal issues, but doesn't talk about the optics. This game just had the worst optics ever. Everyone knows this who's being honest about it.
I want to go and look at some up. Let's see. How is it doing? Let's have a look. Let's see. Dragon's Age the Veilguard. So it hit an all-time peak of 89k. Players right now 804. Okay. Let's look at Stellar Blade. Let's see how that's doing. Players right now 58,000. Almost 59k. A peak at 192k. Yeah. All right. That's about right, huh? Dragon's Age is doing great, right, guys?
About it. It got dismissed as a woke game, and the dialogue and the direction of the story was impacted by clearly the agenda of some people working at BioWare, or at least some of the people. And the numbers of this, you just don't explain this away.
I don't think a single thing about Dragon's Age was good.
And you can just look at the numbers. I mean, an instant drop-off.
Yeah.
And again, this just doesn't explain everything. Just looking at the article, clearly the optics of this were really bad. And of course, there's explanations for this.
It's easy to push back on this, but when the woke debates consume literally an entire online marketing campaign.
Reasons it failed, and Paul Tassi said it's easy to push back on this, but
when the woke
debates consume literally an entire online marketing campaign that can, in fact.
So there's this thing that seems to go around that streamers and content creators can kill a game and they can revive a game, right? I've only ever seen a case of this like twice. In general, a streamer cannot kill a good game. And I think an example to this is the same guy that Paul's talking about, Asmongold. He he hated, I think it was Dune, the online game. He hated that game. He said he thinks the game's shit. But Dune is doing very well. So if he killed the game, how come he didn't kill Dune? Maybe because people actually enjoy Dune, and people overall did not enjoy this piece of shit game. Just, you know, just a fucking hinge. Hinge? What's the word I'm after? Oh, whatever. Let's just move on.
Fact be damaging, and yes, Asmongold trashing something does actually matter now, like it or not. Not that you should cater to that, but it's where we are. I disagree. I think people like Asmongold have an impact, but at the end of the day,
I don't think they do that much.
A lot of people, not everyone watches Asmongold. Like, he's very popular, but like, you have to understand the giant normie market for a Dragon Age IP.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of them did not see his review or any review from YouTubers. And on top of that, we were told over and over again that YouTubers and anyone with a platform criticizing this game, irrelevant. You didn't matter. And now all of a sudden, people like Asmongold are so powerful, they control markets. And down here, someone basically says, I disagree.
He's Voldemort.
And he replies by saying,
it's not a clear majority, it's a loud minority.
It's a loud minority. No game fails purely because it's woke.
Not Concord or whatever you're going to reference. All these games also have real issues separate from all of that, obviously. Right, but there's like but it's like these dots connect. Like, woke games end up just being bad games. Like, name one game that is woke that actually ended up having good gameplay and a good story. One. Just fucking one. There's not one. Because they focus so much on trying to enforce their own opinions into these games and into these characters that they completely forget that people play games to play a game, not to listen to your fucking bullshit and you trying to lecture people on what they should and shouldn't think.
Not this, not Concord, or whatever you're going to reference.
By Concord, by the way.
Also have real issues separate from all of that, obviously. And he's getting clowned on and criticized pretty hard for this.
Of course he is.
Trying to downplay this stuff and say
because he's retarded.
The loud minority that's causing games to fail. Where is the silent majority? Where are they? Because if they existed, they would...
Bro, like, people underestimate the casual gamer. Like, casual gamer is what makes games succeed and fail in most cases. Because that's most people who play games. Hardcore gamers and the people on the internet, we are not the majority. We're just not.
Would show up. This is not some gigantic leap of faith to go out and buy a video game you like. If you're interested in, you're hearing some negative things from a supposed loud minority, you're still going to go and buy it. I'm sorry. Why would you let a loud minority affect you? It just seems odd. And honestly, the loud minority has always been the activists on Twitter, the woke people, the people trying to push agenda and control what these games are allowed to do or not to do in order to serve their agenda. That's the loud minority, and it's been proven over and over again with games.
And every time games fail because of it.
So obvious.
TV fails as well.
I don't understand how anyone is trying to pretend like this is the reality when it's really the opposite. But of course, Stellar Blade's got an amazing thing here. Shift Up got an amazing thing here.
Yeah.
And anything that they're going to be working on next, everyone's super excited. But Sony
remains committed to a diverse and resilient.
Sony now remains committed to diverse and resilient live service.
Forthcoming. This game here, Marathon. This game ain't doing too well. It's actually been delayed even further because nobody likes it. Like, this is going to be like the next Concord. It's not going to be as bad as Concord in terms of numbers. Like, Concord was like catastrophic. This is just really, really bad. Sony really just cannot stop, can they? It's like, they just cannot stop losing money. They just keep losing money.
Games, including forthcoming Marathon and Fair games. despite high-profile
I don't know what Fair
failures.
Games is.
Yes. They see what happens to games like Concord. They see how these live service games struggle. They see how games like Stellar Blade succeed. But they choose the wrong options. There's a right option and a wrong one here from a common sense standpoint, and they're sticking with Marathon and Fair Games, which are going to struggle.
The reason why they do this is because overall, a live service game is the most profitable, and it's not even close. But the issue is trying to get a live service game good. They just can't do it. They just can't seem to get it right. But overall, that is the most profitable thing if they get it right. But they won't get it right. And then Concord happens.
Mightily. It's rare you can just look at stuff and say, yep, that's not going to do well. And that's an example of that. That's what people said when they saw Concord. And guess what? That's what people are saying when they see Marathon and Fair Games.
And it's failing.
And the fact they're sticking
Fair
with
Games,
the
I
stuff,
don't know what that is.
Insane. But anyways, not to diminish the great day or great week for Stellar Blade, but that's some of the other stuff going on and some of the people fighting back at the success of this game and trying to diminish it. But for now, it's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.
All right. Yeah. I mean, like, it's crazy how well Stellar Blade has done. Like, it's actually insane. And it's a lot more insane. It's always like the journalists who happen to have some weird fetish. It's always them. They are the ones who are into bear sex, who criticize games like Stellar Blade for having an overly sexualized character who is a depiction of a woman. They say she's got an unrealistic body, but she is a 3D model of a real model. Oh yeah, but she's unrealistic. But turning into a bear to fuck, that's completely realistic, right guys? It's pathetic. I hate journalists. I truly hate games journalists